Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Good morning, devotees. Today, Dasa, I think he's cooking, so he asked me to give class in his stead. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udhiraye Nasta Prayesha Vadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamas Loke Bhakti Ravavati Naistiki. We're reading from the fourth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 26, entitled The Creation of the Fourth Order, verse 15. Natatairati tarhi rochante griheshu griha sampada yadinasya grihemata patni vapati devata vyanje rata iva pragya konamasita dinavat. Synonyms plus translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Na, not, tata, like before, itarhi, at this moment, rochante, become pleasing, griheshu, at home, griha sampada, all household paraphernalia. Yadi, if, na, not, syat, there is, grihe, at home, mata, mother, patni, wife, va, or pati devata, devoted to the husband. Vyanje, without wheels, rate, in a chariot, iva, like, pragya, learned man, ka, who is that, nama, indeed, asita, would sit, dinavat, like a poverty-stricken creature. King Puranjana said, I do not understand why my household paraphernalia does not attract me as before. I think that if there is neither a mother nor devoted wife at home, The home is like a chariot without wheels. Where is the fool who will sit down on such an unworkable chariot? Purport. The great politician Chanakya Pandit said, Mataya Syagrihinasti Bharya Chapriya Vadini Aranyam Tena Gantavyam Yataranyam Tatagriham. If a person has neither a mother nor a pleasing wife at home, he should leave home and go to the forest, because for him there is no difference between the forest and home. The real mata or mother is devotional service to the Lord, and the real patni or devoted wife is a wife who helps her husband execute religious principles in devotional service. These two things are required for a happy home. Actually, a woman is supposed to be the energy of the man. Historically, in the background of every great man, there is either a mother or a wife. One's household life is very successful if he has both a good wife and mother. In such a case, everything about household affairs and all the paraphernalia in the house becomes very pleasing. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had both a good mother and pleasing wife, and he was very happy at home. Nonetheless, for the benefit of the whole human race, he took sannyas and left both his mother and wife. In other words, it is essential that one have both a good mother and wife in order to become perfectly happy at home. Otherwise, home life has no meaning. Unless one is religiously guided by intelligence and renders devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his home can never become very pleasing to a saintly person. In other words, if a man has a good mother or a good wife, there is no need of his taking sannyas. That is, unless it is absolutely necessary, as it was for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The verse again, King Puranjana said, I do not understand why my household paraphernalia does not attract me as before. I think that if there is neither a mother nor devoted wife at home, the home is like a chariot without wheels. Where is the fool who will sit down on such an unworkable chariot? Omagyanatimirandasya Kinanjana Shalakaya Chaksurmeditam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Kam Karoti Vachalam Angum Langayati Girim Yat Kripatam Ham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Mishwara. Vanchakalpataruyascha Kripa Sindhuvyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanivyo Vaishnavivyo Namo. Okay, there is a few things that we can discuss. The example given here in the verse, that if there is no a good mother or a devoted wife at home, then home is like a chariot without wheels. Where is the fool that is going to sit on such an unworkable chariot? Only children would like to play and with abandoned cars that have nothing. So if one is actually mature, will understand this home is really not a home. I know the case of course, we are not talking about spiritual life, but the father of a friend of mine who passed away recently, he was a dentist for many, many years. He was in his 80s, and he was still going to the office. He didn't have any clients anymore, maybe a couple of friends that would come and actually see him, but he was no longer working. So what was the point of his going to work? is that he didn't want to hang out with his wife. He told me that. He was just being told what to do. Even though he was 80, he was still asked, do this, do that, a list of things. So if there is a home where there is a good mother, because mothers also are questionable nowadays. We had a devotee tell us that her father abandoned her mother, and when she was pregnant, and suggested strongly that she had an abortion. And the same thing happened when her brother was born. So mothers are supposed to protect their children, but many mothers choose to abort their children. Actually, I heard stories of quite a few devotees that they barely made it out of the womb because they wanted to be aborted, and somehow or other they made it through. So with a mother like that, a mother that would agree to such a thing, there is no protection. And with a wife that is not devoted, and devoted means that she's a devotee. Simple as that. That's the simplest definition. Not a wife that is always thinking about shopping or the body, or how do I look, or what do the neighbors think of us, or et cetera, et cetera. Someone who is actually more concerned, or hopefully fully concerned, about how to worship the personality of Godhead at home and outside. They have deities at home. Even if they're not installed, they take care of the deities. And the children are, if they have children, they are taught Krishna consciousness, and the husband is encouraged to be a devotee, just like in the case of Prabhupada's sister Bhavatarini. Her husband was a drunkard, but she was a faithful person and a good devotee that no matter what the circumstances, she never gave up. It's not like one has to think, okay, the honeymoon is over, and now I have to think about my sense gratification again, which is not fulfilled by my current partner. At the very end, actually, we had a sannyasi speak to us recently, who proposed vehemently, I shall say, that everybody has to, at the end of life, take sannyas, which I didn't even at that time. And here is the verse. Actually, Jiva Pandit Prabhu pointed out this verse to me the day after he delivered his soliloquy, saying at the very end that if a man has a good mother or a good wife, there is no need of his taking sannyas. That is, unless it is absolutely necessary, as it was for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a good mother and a good wife, but he had a mission to save the world. So he had to, in order to save the rest of society, he had to expand his movement. And at the time, in the medieval Bengali society, one wouldn't be taken seriously unless one donned the garments of a mendicant, of a sannyasi. But it's not that I am not encouraging people to take sannyas. No, if it is your path, good for you. Good for you that you can do that. But if someone has a saintly wife, it will be cruel to abandon the wife just for the sake of nomenclature, because you want power, or because you want adoration, distinction, all these things that You see, there is a point in life where sex appeal is not very strong, but subtle sex is a lot stronger. Like, for example, the physical sex doesn't bring much pleasure, but the subtle sex does, like being admired or flattered or worship or mentioned, all these adornments that float around the false ego, and they seem very appealing. It's simply another form of sex. And the point is not notoriety. The point is devotional service. Like we have very many saintly women in this movement, as many or more than men. Matter of fact, Prabhupada said that women are more religious, they're more pious than men. They're attracted spontaneously to spiritual life. I can mention quite a few. Here in Gitanagari, we had Mother Kaulini, who was just like Jayananda was basically canonized by Prabhupada. I think Kaulini is no less in the pantheon of saintly people. She is at that level, a complete saint. And in the material world or outside of spiritual societies, we can say that there are women in history like Eleanor Roosevelt and Florence Nightingale and so on, that they dedicated themselves to philanthropy, because women are helpers by nature. Of course, some people are totally identified with the body that they have or with the race that they have. Like some people advocate for their gender as if in the previous life had the same gender. No, this is erroneous. So some people advocate, is one thing to advocate for the rights that are an can't even say the word, inalienable right, like the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, those inalienable right, like to be free, to have freedom of speech and so on. So that one should be respected, that is worth fighting for, not respected for because of your gender, it's because of oppression and for abuse and things like that. But to be a man or a woman, that's not noteworthy. That's not something to be proud of. It's simply the gender that we got assigned according to our karma, according to our material desires. So for someone to advocate women should have this and that, and because one sees the injustice, that's one thing. But to say that women should be respected for the sake because they are women, why? Men should be respected because they're men? No, why? This is just a temporary designation. We weren't, and I wasn't in the body of a man, I'm not sure, in my previous life, nor will I have another one, perhaps. So women that are advocating for women so passionately, they perhaps should step back and study their history and see that in the past life they weren't women, and in the future life they may not be women. Same for people that are whatever color the skin is, they advocate for the rights. Well, in your past life you weren't the same race, or they advocate for a particular nationality or religion or anything. This is just a temporary designation. It's I like to compare the material world is like a bus stop. You take a Greyhound from here to Missouri and you stop somewhere, and don't make a house out of a bus stop. That's just a bus stop. So this planet, this universe, this body, this race, this color, this gender is simply a bus stop. No need to sweat over it. So they are injustices in this world, undoubtedly. But the greatest injustice is the fact that people advocate for other than pure devotional service. Because even devotional service needs to be qualified. One should pray for pure devotional service, not just for devotional service. This particular bus stop at this time is giving us so much to think about, yet so little reward. We are just wandering souls in a very large, dark, lonely place is the material world, and we get attached to things. So that's why it's necessary to take guidance. And the guidance is there. Shastra, particularly, Guru, Sadhu. These are all our systems of check and balances. So if you have a particular philosophy that you have developed, even in Krishna consciousness, we tend to kind of settle with a particular philosophy, just not to be bothered. But has to be according to Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. And as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, behind every great man, there is a great woman, usually. There's very few that actually can make it through the material world on their own, with no support from their family. So at the end of life, when one is ready to stop playing house and accumulating things in this material world, which are simply meant to distract us from the fact that we are going to die and that we cannot take anything with us. Nothing. We cannot take even a sandwich for the trip. We actually have to realize that the only thing that is valuable is devotional service, and particularly pure devotional service, not tinged with jnana, karma. This is any desire that is not the desire to serve Krishna purely and the devotees. Because Krishna is not just Krishna. As Prabhupada didn't like pictures of Krishna without cows or without the devotees being depicted. Krishna is not alone. He's always with these devotees, his paraphernalia. Anything that you see with Krishna. It's all devotees of Krishna. And if we worship Krishna but don't worship the devotees, then that's the definition of kanista. A kanista sees the deity in the temple but doesn't see anything else. Then a madhyama sees a little better, but still sees in terms of friends and enemies. And an uttama adhikari sees, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta sees, the entire world engaged in devotional service except for himself. So this, what vision do we have? Do we see Krishna? Do we feel all cozy and soft inside when we go in front of the deities? But when we see the devotees, we really don't feel anything. We put ourselves before them. Or do we see the world divided between friends and enemies? And do we feel the need to give mercy to those who haven't had it, to share Krishna consciousness with others? If we don't feel that desire, we are not on the Madhyama platform. If we are still the center of the universe, then we have a long way to go. So at least we should aspire to raise ourselves. And how do you raise yourself? Well, on your own is difficult, if not impossible. We have to get the association of advanced devotees. Devotees who think like that. It's contagious. It's contagious. Just like if you go in go to a place where people are sick, you probably will get sick. If you hang out with drunkards, you will probably become one. If you hang out with lazy people, you will become lazy. And if you hang out with saints, you will become a saint by association. But what's the currency used? The currency is service. And so how can you please a saintly person? By service. Same with Krishna. What do you have that Krishna doesn't have? What can he offer Krishna? Only your love, your devotion, your service. And Krishna is, as we hear in the Damodarastaka, conquer and overwhelm by pure love and devotion. That's the only currency that we should have. All other currency is worthless when it comes to Krishna. He doesn't have anything. You don't have anything that he needs or he wants, except your love and devotion, this thing that is innate to us and we are miserly about. We don't want to give it to him. We want to use the conversion to the bad currency of lust and anger and greed and so on. So Lord Chaitanya, as we well known, he had two wives, and it's the goddess of fortune. You can't get better than that for a wife. And still, he decided to leave home. Of course, this is all a lila. Ours is not a lila. Wake up. Ours is not a pastime. Ours is a struggle. And Prabhupada quotes Chanakya Pandit as well. Prabhupada says, the great politician, Chanakya Pandit. Chanakya Pandit has a bunch of nice, interesting quotes, but it's not exactly Shastra. It's called Niti Shastra, moral instructions, but it's mostly meant for the purpose of decency or practicality. For a few things are somewhat questionable, like Machiavellic, you can call, kind of a spontaneous disciple of Chanakya Pandit, someone who actually taught a king or a prince how to behave with diplomacy and so on, how to maneuver around. So Chanakya Pandit is a little better than that, is in the category of politicians with strong moral backbone. But he says that without having a good wife or a good mother, home is like a forest. There's no difference. If you live in the forest, or if you live, because in the forest you don't know what you get, there may be wild animals. So if the mother and the wife are not favorable to devotional service, not that they just won't indulge you in your sense gratification, that's different. If they are not helpful to one's spiritual life, then may as well live in the forest. All right. It's a long day today, so I want to shorten the class, but we'll take comments and realizations and questions or chastisements, whatever you have for me. Do not hesitate to dish it out. Anyone? Okay. I wish you all a wonderful Krishna conscious day, and we'll see you tomorrow or earlier than that. Thank you for staying awake. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.